Haaretz interviewed an Egyptian civilian dated August 1st, 2013, and in this interview, an Egyptian had said, "When we want the Americans, they're not here. But when we don't want the Americans, they're here." And unfortunately, that seems to be the exact situation that always comes about in the Middle East. Indeed, the United States has been seen as oppressive. Unfortunately, the United States' content rate globally has been on an all-time low. And unfortunately, this has raised awareness with the United States nation building in different countries. However, the United States, according to a Bloomberg Businessweek article dated August 6, 2012, reports that the United States gives annually about $1.7 billion to the country of Egypt's military. And unfortunately, this has seemed to become very controversial in recent times because of the Egyptian coup of Mr. Mubarak, and with the Egyptian military now running the government, it's clear that the United States has now seen its influence at an all-time high. And with the fate of two of the world's most influential powers hanging in the balance, the Council on Foreign Relations was forced to ask the question: should the United States cut funding to the Egyptian military? And the answer to this question is no, for the following three reasons. First, because of how catastrophic this could be with the situation going on between Israel and Egypt. Secondly, because of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's presidency and how the United States cutting funding could lead to the end of his election process. And lastly, because of the United States' hindering of intelligence gathering that could make Egypt so crucial within the year 2014. But first, we have to look to the situation between Egypt and Israel, and how the United States could be provoking anti-American sentiment by decreasing funding to the country of Egypt. Now, according to an article published by Al Jazeera dated August 6, 2013, if in fact the United States cuts funding now more than ever, it would be detrimental simply because Israel and Egypt are now at war with each other due to drones that have been recently sent by Israeli militants, and unfortunately this has led to much controversy on the topic of the United States. Indeed, if the United States were to cut funding now, it would be seen as the United States aiding the enemy, as an Egyptian authoritative figure had actually said. So therefore, the United States is stuck between a rock and stuck between a difficult place. And unfortunately, if the United States sees itself helping the enemy, quote unquote, it would be detrimental for the United States' image in the Middle East. And therefore, it is crucial that the United States does not do so to lower anti-American sentiment globally. But secondly, we have to look to Mr. al-Sisi, who is the army general, and according to an Economist article dated August 5th, 2013, Mr. al-Sisi says that he is not prevented from running from the presidency and is actually contemplating whether to do so. However, if the United States were to cut funding, this type of transition between him going from the military general to running for president would be cut off completely, because he would have to readdress his military issues first, which he had actually said on a Washington Post which was actually readdressed on a Washington Post article dated August 1st, 2013, in which he states that if in fact anything were to happen to the military, he would readdress this and go back to his duties. However, he is contemplating whether or not he should run, and indeed many are seeing him his approval rating at an all-time high, and this could be very beneficial for him running for the president. And if the United States were to in fact cut funding, this could hold the United States accountable for another Egyptian, a prolonged Egyptian lack of martial law, under martial law. So therefore, the United States cutting funding would be detrimental due to Mr. Assisi running for president. But lastly, we have to realize that the United States would be hindering intelligence gathering in the Middle East if in fact it were to cut funding to the country of Egypt. And the reason for this is brought up by a Forbes article dated May 16th, 2013, that reports that the United States is now leaving Afghanistan, and indeed Afghanistan was was 25% of the United States' ability to gather intelligence in the Middle East. However, the other 13% comes from the country of Egypt, and if the United States were to cut funding to the country of Egypt, it would in fact see its bases reduced and other such sorts. Therefore, the United States would lack mobility within the country, and that could potentially be very detrimental to the United States. Furthermore, we look to an article published by the Huffington Post dated May 29th, 2013, that reports that U.S. mobility is based off of its influence within the country, which is also based off of funding. And therefore, because funding is so crucial to the country, the United States must keep its funding within the country to, in fact, see its forces at an all-time high and our ability to gather intelligence so the United States could, in fact, secure its global security, which is, in fact, a priority. So therefore, when readdressing today's question, should the United States cut funding to the country of Egypt, the answer to this question is no, for the three reasons that we've discussed. First, because it would be provoking anti-American sentiment due to the Israeli-Egyptian controversy. Secondly, because of the Mr. Assisi running for president and how this would prolong Egypt under martial law. And lastly, because of the United States hindering intelligence gathering in the Middle East. Thank you.